Welcome to my garden journey, and hello to everyone who has joined over the last month or so. It's really great to have you on board. My name's John and this is my garden, and this channel is all about me learning to grow and sharing what I'm learning with you as I go. And in this video I'm going to share with you 5 flowers that I'm going to be sowing in March and through into April. The first flower I'm going to be sowing in March is the traditional pansy. This is a perennial pansy and I'm really looking forward to growing them. These are pretty traditional for the British garden, and I'm looking forward to having those around in different places, whether it be in a border or in a pot. So these should do pretty well, and you get quite a lot of seeds of these, so hopefully we'll be sharing these out amongst my friends. If you are going to be sowing pansies this time of the year, it's best to try and protect them from the cold and grow them under glass, either in a greenhouse or on a windowsill if you can. To make sure that you're sowing them into some nice and moist soil, and just give them a light covering up of compost and you should be okay. Next up is Love in a Mist, known as Blue Star, and this one is being sown particularly to try and attract some pollinators into the garden, because I do want to make sure that I'm getting all of my crops pollinated really well, and I might even put some of this down my allotment to attract in those pollinators. So sow these into finely raked over soil and make sure as best you can that they're weed free, and that way hopefully there'll be nothing for them to compete against. The soil does need to be moist, but other than that, fairly easy to actually sow and to grow on. Sweet pea is the next flower that I intend to be sowing in March and April. Now these do really well and they climb up, and I intend to stick them over the arch that I've got behind me at the moment. So I'm hoping that's going to produce a really nice entranceway to my veg patch. And not only that, attract some of those pollinators in as well, and really just make that garden come to life. I'll be sowing these into pots in my greenhouse, but you can sow them outside if you want to. I'll be sowing around about 5 per pot, and that way I get a really nice clump of sweet peas to grow up and over my arch. The next flower I'm intending to sow in March is going to be Larkspur, and this is a traditional cottage garden flower, and I'm really looking forward to having some of these in my front garden. These need to be sown where they're going to flower, so they need to go into finely raked over soil that's weed free and moist. But once they're in there, keep them well watered, and hopefully you'll have a lovely display of Larkspur flowers later on in the year. And finally, I'm sowing myself some flowers that will flower later in the year and in autumn. Just as the colours are starting to fade, this flower comes to life and really does perk up those shortening days. So this is Cosmos, and I absolutely love this. This is a plant that really does well, particularly this variety, towards the back of a bed because it's quite tall. So throughout the summer it will just really fill out the gaps within the flower bed, and then it will come into its own as everything else is starting to die back. So really good investment, and something that you'll really appreciate later on in the year. I've already sown my Cosmos and they've already germinated, and I'm very pleased about that. They've come up within about 7 or so days and they're looking strong, and hopefully later on in a few months' time I shall have them out in my flower bed, filling it up and giving me some colour later on in autumn. That's 5 flowers that you can be sowing now in March and through into April that will give you great colour in your garden in summer and through into autumn. I really hope that your garden's going well at the moment and you're getting some seeds into pots and into the ground and they're starting to germinate. There's nothing better than seeing those plants come up. Remember, the weather is still really difficult. It's been really sunny, hot in my greenhouse, but outside's been really cold. So make sure that you're watering plenty in your greenhouse, keeping that soil moist and protecting any of your plants outside from frost. So I hope that's been helpful, and I'll see you next time.